him.
I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Smack 'em a gob! Time for the only news that matters in a new interview with one of my favorite drummers of all time and Slayer's co-founder, Dave Lombardo, looked back on his accomplishments, answering several questions about the early days of Slayer, including why he couldn't understand when Slayer were accused of being Nazis, an accusation the band dodged for years after the Rain and Blood song Angel of Death. Written by late Slayer's guitarist Jeff Hanneman, was a live favorite for the act. You know, Angel of Death opened Slayer's 1986 masterpiece, Rain and Blood. And it's a song that details Auschwitz concentration camp, human experiments from the Nazi physician Joseph Mengele, which was called the Angel of Death. But could the drummer understand why people thought it suggested Slayer were Nazis? He said, I couldn't at all. People just seemed to be getting it all wrong, and it didn't make sense to me. It's a song, and nowhere did it go off the idea that fascism was cool. Tom Araya was talking about this guy who performed these horrible surgeries on innocent people. Really stupid, horrific things. You should need to read the lyrics to understand we were condoning those things. The accusations did little to stop Slayer's rise in 80s thrash metal. After all, nowadays fans look at Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth, and Metallica as the thrash big four. But when asked if there was any rivalry between the bands, Lombardo made clear the competition was only good nature. He said it was a healthy rivalry. We were competing, but not in a negative way. We wanted to be the best. We wanted to be the heaviest. So our rivals were any bands that opened for us. We'd be like, let's blow them out of the water. I can't think of a single band we had a real negative relationship with. In fact, it seems Lombardo might have felt more competition with the many up-and-coming death metal bands that sprung up in Slayer's wake. He say, we watch a lot of these bands from side stage. I remember whispering to Hanneman, we're better, we're faster. It wasn't necessarily arrogant, but it was inspiring if we watched a band that couldn't deliver the ferocity we were, because it made us feel amazing. And it was a youthful approach. You want to be better than the guy before you, and you want to blow everyone out of the water. That was our mantra. And let me tell you, I saw Slayer in the 80s. They were ferocious. Crazy as pits. Extremely important band to me. You know, I never really thought of them being Nazis because of the song Angel of Death, even though I know what the song was about, but it's just a sick song. And, you know, it's just to talk about Slayer for a little bit. The point of Slayer for me is that the album Rain and Blood, okay, which is considered their masterpiece, their most popular album, blah, blah, blah. What I don't understand about Rain and Blood is the people online that say they're Slayer fans and say Rain and Blood sucks. Oh, I've seen that. I've seen other people that they liked, you know, like Seasons or Hell Awaits or, you know, all that. You know, oh, those are better albums. To me, I will never understand that. And I will even admit that I am a Metal Blade Slayer fan. Really, technically, my favorite Slayer release is Haunting the Chapel. Then I'll go to Hell Awaits, then I'll go to Show No Mercy. Those were my 3 favorite Slayer releases. But Rain and Blood is the best. I mean, I just think it's the best. Even I can pick others as favorites. But that's the thing. I have this thing where, you know, I mean, for me, Merciful Fate in the 80s and Black Sabbath in the 70s is my favorite band of all time. But the Beatles are the greatest band of all time. That's my warped mind, and that's how I feel about Slayer, and that's how I feel about Dave Lombardo. No disrespect to Paul Bostuff and whoever replaced Dave Lombardo in Slayer. Great drummers, but none of them had that. Man, that crazy fast fills, a little. Dave Lombardo drums like it's a train about to fall off a track. It's so sporadic and crazy. It's kind of like, you know, playing without a net, you know, like walking a tightrope without a net under you. That's how I would describe Dave Lombardo's drumming. He is definitely my favorite thrash drummer. That's for sure. That goes without saying. You know, the guy, what he did on those early Slayer albums, forget it. And when I was on tour with my band, when we played New York, we saw Dave Lombardo. I believe the band was called Film. You know, it was like an instrumental thing, and it was mind-blowing watching Dave. I was very close watching Dave do all this crazy stuff on drums, and some parts of the songs had little Slayer parts, like he did the double bass of Angel of Death, and there was other things I noticed. Oh, that's what he does on that Slayer. Man, it was an awesome night, and I met him afterwards. Couldn't have been nicer. Yeah, man, Dave Lombardo rules, and Slayer, man, forget it, man. They deserve all that stuff they did, in my opinion, up to Seasons. Up to Seasons, to me, is the greatest Slayer. But, as I said, I'm a Metal Blade guy, but Rain and Blood is not only, you know, the greatest Slayer album. It's, I don't know, I would have to say it's the greatest thrash album, but, you know, I also, there's days the greatest thrash album forever for me would be Violence, Eternal Nightmare. And then there's days I think it's Dark Angel, Darkness Descends. And then there's days that I think it's Rain and Blood. They're both like top tier, greatest thrash albums ever recorded. And Dave Lombardo, one of the, if not the greatest thrash drummer. He is the greatest thrash drummer in my world. And Slayer is up there with one of the greatest metal bands from the 80s, you know. I have my beliefs. I don't like to throw my beliefs on everybody, but I will tell you all, I am not a Satanist, and I would never practice the satanic religion, but damn do I love songs that praise the Dark Lord. And the imagery, I'll never forget walking in that record store back in 84. And I saw Slayer in magazines before this, but when I saw that album cover, and I flipped it around, and I saw Jeff Hanneman with that cross, I had to walk outside the store without it. And honestly, I didn't really get Slayer the first time I heard it. I was like, eh. But then, you know, I woke up to the greatness of Show No Mercy. And then, of course, Haunting the Chapel, my favorite release. And I'll never forget, when I was in California in 1985, I was on a bus going to a record store. And on my way to a record store, I passed a park bench. And in that park bench was carved Slayer, Hell Awaits. And I thought, yeah, I'm buying that. You know, I didn't have Hell Awaits yet. We didn't have the internet back then, so I didn't know what Hell Awaits sounded like. But I already had Haunting the Chapel, and I already had Show No Mercy. So yeah, I bought Hell Awaits that day because that park bench told me to. That park bench was satanic. But I just love, like, you know, Merciful Fate's my favorite band of the 80s, and they were satanic as all hell. I don't buy into it, but I love hearing it. It's just like this crazy empowerment to these satanic songs that does not make me want to kill babies. But anyway, that's it. What do you all think? Leave it in the comment below. You know, do you think they were Nazis? I don't, but if you do, That's your problem. And everybody else, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And no, even you people that think Slayer are Nazis, please subscribe to my channel and ring that little notification bell and like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so nevermore shall we see you again.